And hello and good morning. We are live on Boles TV, BOLES dot television, T and a V. It's Thursday. I keep thinking today is Wednesday. I don't know why. And tomorrow is Friday, so that means Saturday. And Sunday, Jana Marie makes her return right here on Boles.tv, her long-awaited return, as she talks about disability and language acquisition and total communication. It's going to be a wonderful and eventful day, set of weekend days, starting again Saturday, Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern. And we are here with you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, I tell you, it's interesting as you try to live a human life, and you have to deal with artificial people. And when I say people, I mean bots. Bots are people. Bots are artificial people. They have personalities. They're there to make your life miserable. And some bots are there to help you. And if you look at this Twitch stream, and if you look at the viewers and see who's here, half of the people watching are bots. And they have interesting names. Oh, it's so wonderful that this person's here watching, and then you look at them and you click on them and they never say a word, and they're not a person. They're just sitting there. And when we first started out, we'd have 100 bots just sitting there doing nothing. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're here. And also on this Discord server that we are working to get set up in the event of the catastrophe that is Elon Musk or such and so on, you just learn very quickly that these bots, the good and the bad, are here and there to stay. And we are testing what I call defensive bots, first-line bots. And there are 3 or 4 of them we've been testing every day, every other week. And it seems that these bots that are first-line bots want to be your only first-line bot. So you move things around and you have this bot being the first-line bot, and the former first-line bot says, wait a minute, I'm banning that person, not you. And the first-line bot says, no, I'm banning people. You sit there and be quiet. And then they fight back and forth, and then one would delete all the messages from the other, and then it's a big circle of distrust. And they're all trying to protect the server from these raids, excuse me, that go on. I don't know where they're coming from. And they tend now to come overnight, like from midnight to 4 a.m. And our latest bot that we were testing last night did a wonderful job. It also crashed our friendly bot, and it also deleted all the messages from if then this. If this, then that. Purged everything it had ever posted. Months of posting gone out the window. But I set it up to do that, so it's all my fault. I have to figure out how to whitelist interactions, which I hope to do later today. But our new bot, overnight, recognized, hey, this is a raid, and now we're really locking everything down. And it was about a 30-minute raid. Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Gordon likes my shirt. Nebraska needs journalists. Flatwater Press. We talk about them often here. We also have a blue shirt. And we'll talk about that in a minute because that's a good topic. And I think like around 4 in the morning, Eastern time, our bot stopped a raid of 60. So there were 60, I want to call them people. Bots are people, 60 bot people, all trying to register at once on our Discord server. I don't know why. I'm told they want to DM people and sell them things and steal their money. But okay. So you have to have a defense in place. I don't know why Discord can't do that on their own. I guess they're going to try to do that, but so far you have to rely on outside bots, and if you want good protection, you have to pay for it. No good bot is a free bot. All good bots, on average, for one server, $5 a month. Which is not terrible, because the premium stuff is worth it, because that's for all the really good heuristic protection comes in. So the great state of Nebraska used to have 3 major good newspapers: the Omaha World Herald, the Lincoln Journal, and the Lincoln Star. Then, through time and conglomeration and corporations, the Journal Star became one newspaper. You used to get the Star in the Morning Star, and at night you get the Evening Journal. That's what they were called, the Lincoln Morning Star and the Lincoln Evening Journal. Then they came together, became the Journal Star. No morning, no evening, just the Journal Star, delivered in the late afternoon. And it's been the worst for it. But the big newspaper in Nebraska was always the Omaha World Herald, or as the delivery carriers used to call it, the Omaha Weird Herald. And they had hard news. They didn't shy away from controversy. They were just terrific. Then the Nebraska Cornhuskers went on a losing streak for about 25 years. Republicans started taking over all of the governmental positions, locking out the free press in many ways. And over time and time, people got tired of reading a printed newspaper, and they were late. The World Herald going online, digital, they are now, but it's very sad. It's really all advertising and reprinted articles now from the Associated Press. And then Berkshire Hathaway bought the World Herald, and that lasted about 6 months, and they said, oh my gosh, what have we done? We wasted all our money, and they sold it at a fire sale. And now it's a shell of itself. It has a great web domain, which is omaha.com. Fabulous. You wouldn't think it's a newspaper, but that's what it is. You think it's for the city of Omaha. But no, it's not. It's the newspaper. And so, what I call radical, interesting people who used to work for the Weird Herald and who used to work for the Morning Star and the Evening Journal said, hey, we're old now. We're like 60, 70 years old. We remember how journalism used to be in the state of Nebraska. Let's start an online magazine. And I call it a magazine because they don't publish every single day. They publish very deep, in-depth articles at the Flatwater Press. And we've covered a lot of the articles that they've written over time. And so to raise money, they sell this t-shirt, and they sell the other one, the blue t-shirt that Jan and I wear. And they're doing very, very interesting work. They don't charge a subscription. They don't have advertising. They're just going at it. But not getting a lot of traction or attention because most people in Nebraska don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear about Indians, Indian schools, the murder of Indian children. They don't want anything to do with it. So let me see what Flatwater has on their front page right now. Gordon's made me curious. Flatwater Free Press. Here's the latest from the Braided Prairie. Rewriting Willa. Red Cloud Omaha, latest stop on decade-long literary art journey. I kind of brushed over that article. Very dumb. I don't know why that's on the front page. Someone's sitting there in a cornfield, in a wheat field, rewriting Willa. New Afghan refugees adapt to strange land, Nebraska. That's interesting. John Cook, he's the volleyball coach at the university. Why is that being covered here? Knows darkness. He's located to the light. Helping ye who are near Ukrainian border, Nebraskans offer play comfort child refugees. They sent some people to Ukraine to do research. As you can tell, it's at the bottom of the page. Not going very well. So they started strong. No, not so much. And it's interesting that some of the writers that they have working for them, some are hardcore writers, others are like lifestyle writers that you could never stand when they were working for the Journal Star. Every week, some, pulpy pastry piece. And now she's retired and bored with her life as a grandmother, so she's back to writing the pulpy poopy pieces for the Flatwater Press. That's a failure. There's no way around that one. Now, last night, Jana Marie and I were going through old photographs, having some fun. And she was scrolling back, way back on her phone, and said, "Hey, did I ever send you this video?" And I looked at it and I said, "No." Because it can be hard to get a long-form video off of an iPhone and published on the web. Now, theoretically, we have Vimeo, and theoretically, if you click to upload your video to Vimeo, it should go. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you're not on the right connection, not fast enough. Sometimes the internet just says, "I'm not interested in doing this right now, try later." And then you forget about it. And sometimes you forget about it for almost a decade. But way back in 2014, on July 2nd, so that's hot, in New York City, Jana Marie, on her iPhone 5S, documented her walking transfer from one train to another. And it's about 2.5 minutes. So if people say, well, what is New York really like? Pre-pandemic. Let's say 8 years ago in 2014, on July 2nd, what was New York really like back then? Now we can share the video because we uploaded it last night and we're sharing it with you today. And I see now this also from Vimeo is CC, closed captions. That is new. That is very exciting that they're now auto-captioning videos that you can turn off or turn on. And this doesn't have any speech to it. But we have videos that do have speech, so this could be really great. So I'm going to play this subway walk. That's all it is Jana Marie turning on her phone and walking to her next train. And it's the most New York moment I've ever seen. I call it subway mayhem. We'll see what you think. And she was a little nervous. She said, people back then really didn't like to be on camera. So she wasn't sure if someone was going to hit her or knock the phone out of her hand. But she said it sort of worked. People kind of didn't care because, as you can see, nobody wants to stop. They want to get to where they're going and get the hey out of there. And I believe this is Court Square before it was remodeled. So this is history in the making you're watching right now. And it's oh so dreary, and it's hot, and it's underground. It's sort of miserable. You can feel the stickiness on your skin. But this is documentarianism. Good luck if you're in a wheelchair, or if you have a sore foot, or if you're on crutches, because you're on your own. You're going to be walking and walking a very far way. And notice the escalators are not in service. So you get to climb up 50 stairs on your road. And this really is, believe it or not, a nice-looking subway stop. It's even nicer looking now because it's all glass and remodeled. But from the outside, it was really quite beautiful. Now you got to go in through the doors and pay again. Walk, walk. And make your way to the next train in all of the mayhem. And that's it. Time travel. Right here on Boles.tv. live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Thank you, Jana Marie. That is a wonderful, terrific memory. Now, if you remember last week or so, we were talking about construction, especially in Jersey City. It's everywhere. High rises are on the rise. And we talked about this sort of public art thing that Jersey City has going on. And theoretically, who doesn't love art? But there's this new thing of drawing on buildings, painting on buildings. The Dunkin' Donuts has a spaceman. In downtown Jersey City, there are spacemen and waves crashing, and it's all painted on the walls. I guess it's supposed to be like city art. Okay, in theory, great. But in practice and in practicality, and I mentioned this last week, right here you see this monstrosity of this flower, which hurts me to say that a flower is monstrous. There's Gordon. Great video. It's worth mentioning that Nebraska publication allows for reprints free if you attribute it to them, and even broadcasting another medium. Yeah, that's their whole thing. I'm not exactly sure who would want to repost a lot of their stuff, because the early stuff was very good. Lately, I don't know if they're having a staffing problem, but their articles are not as hard-hitting as they used to be. So instead of David Bowie, we get this giant flower. And it's on a new building. Now my question is this. If you want to put a giant flower in the sky and make it part of the city landscape, the urban landscape, the semiotic, as we say, why would you put it on a black, ugly background? Now, if you're selfish and you say, oh, I want the art to stand out. I want people to see my building. I want people to say, I live in that big, ugly, black building with the flower on the side. Well, then that's identifiable. But if you're going for an aesthetic, a city aesthetic, why wouldn't you pick a neutral background color, like a white or a blue or a soft gray, or even if you had to be funny about it, some kind of mirror chromish finish that would reflect the sky around it and also frame beautifully this giant flower / weed looking thing that's in the sky. It's just a little bit too ugly for me, I'm sorry. Now, last week we also discussed the secret of having a good running elevator in a big city. And Gordon says, for example, Arthur Bowie, Cash, artists, painters. Oh, here's something from Gordon. Let's see what Gordon's saying here. Okay, this is a flower. This must be from a building, I'm guessing. If it is, at least it has a blue background, which is very helpful. This reminds me of the dogs playing poker with the black velvet background. Okay. So this is an example of what I was saying last week about what the elevator man said. Gordon said, I mean to show the blue background, better than black. It's an O'Keeffe original. Ah, very nice. I agree with the blue background. And the key to having a building with fast, safe elevators, I was told by a guy who is the maintenance man for Otis Elevator in our area, that you have to let the elevator shaft cure for a long, long time so that everything is dry and settled. And then the elevator goes in, and then they fine-tune it because the surrounding is not going to move or settle or change because it's rock solid. And he said many of these mainline big developers in the big cities want to pour the foundation for the elevators and then put the elevator in immediately and go. And he said, look, it can take 6 months to a year for an elevator shaft to cure properly. And they don't want to wait. They don't have the money, they don't want to wait. And so what do? They have elevators that bang into the sides. They have elevators that fall, that have frayed cables, and it's a big hazard that's preventable with time and patience. So yesterday, after my skin doctor appointment, which went very well, I thank you so much, I got my blue light treatment, so I'm slightly sunburned on purpose. First with an acid pen and then the blue light special. And so this is the new Justice Center. This is the new Justice Center in Jersey City. They tore down 3 blocks of apartments and where people live. So this can become the new Justice Center Courthouse and I guess prison jail. So everybody's in the same building. Guilty! Go down to the 2nd floor. This is travel time, staffing, and right across the street is the old courthouse, which is, I guess, now crumbling. Built in 1965, 57 years old, now no longer of use. So the city's going to tear it down and build a park. At least it's better than putting up a parking lot, as Joni Mitchell sang. A park will be okay, but it's going to take a while. So for 2 years, they have been tearing down things in this new 3-block area. There's going to be this Justice Center. And I say I'm impressed because I know the secret, that these are the elevator shafts. And this is only some of them. I think I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 12 of these elevator shafts over what looks like a block, but it's really 3 blocks. And they've been like this, these quiet sentinels of the sky, for I would say at least a year. And they built those up right away. And now you can see they're clearing debris, building the foundation of the buildings, but the elevator shafts are there. Now, maybe in a justice system where people escape and you have important judges and safety of people, that they don't mind doing it right and letting the elevator shafts cure for a couple of years, because that's what's happening. And as you can see, this is only like a three-floor building, which is very new because most new buildings here are between 50 and 75 floors high. And this is, I think, 2 or 3. It's not very tall. Big this way, but not big up and down. But the basement goes way, way. You look over this, right here, you look over this little fence and you peer down into what is an abyss that does peer back at you. And you sort of think, oh, who's going to be down in the basement? Because it's a very big basement. That's very, very far down. And we know that's where they're going to put all the bad people. They're going to lock them up in a basement. So every day I walk by this and I say, Otis elevator guy. They know what they're doing. They're being patient. They're going to have very safe, good elevators that don't bang as you go up and down, bang as you go up and down. And he said once the elevator shaft is done and they put in the elevator, you really can't do anything to fix what's cured wrong or settled wrong. All you can do is fix what gets broken. So, that elevator, 2nd floor, bangs. It's going to bang for the rest of its life. And all you can do is, when it bangs enough and someone gets stuck, then you have to go in there and fix it. And I guess one guy in a building nearby got stuck in an elevator. And I'm laughing, but I feel bad for the guy because he said that he fell 25 feet, which is far. You can get injured. That's like jumping from 25 feet, which is 2.5 times the height of a basketball rim. And people say, well, the trick is when you're falling in an elevator, you jump at the last second and you don't smash. None of that works. 25 feet is 25 feet. And the elevator guy said, it's impossible that you fell 25 feet because we're on the first floor. The elevator is flat with the first floor and you were on the second floor. That's not 25 feet. You maybe came down a total of 8 feet that was not arrested and gently lowered to the first floor. Well, the guy in the elevator said, no, it was 25 feet. So it's a big mess. Who do you believe? The person who is really upset for being locked in an elevator that they think's crashed? That would be terrifying. Or do you believe your elevator guy who said, oh, didn't happen? It's difficult to be a building manager today. To briefly manage our time and take a blood pressure break and an advertising break before it gets forced upon us. Back in a moment. And we are back from our brief break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. BOLES.television.tv. Via Twitch, if you want video on demand on YouTube, you can go to BOLES.live, L-I-V-E, Boles.live. And we are here with you Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Saturday, Jana makes her return. Big news. Jana's back. Look out, world! 11 a.m. Eastern, and again Sunday at 11 a.m. Well, we were talking about artwork, and Jersey City is trying to make a name for itself because it's right across the street, the river, from Manhattan. There was maybe a little bit of an identity crisis going on, and so Jersey City has decided that they want these giant, sometimes ugly, murals painted on the sides of their buildings. I don't know why. The idea is good, but the execution to me is not very fresh. So this is downtown Jersey City that I was telling you about, with the wave getting ready to overtake the Statue of Liberty. Why someone would draw that, paint that on a wall, and say, we love it, because the Statue of Liberty is the property of the state of New Jersey, not New York. That's been decided as a point of law. And here, my friend, is a larger picture of that ugly black monolith that I showed you earlier. Who wants a flower that big in the sky? On a black building with no windows. Now, previously, we've talked about the infamous and lovely, famous David Bowie mural, also downtown Jersey City. Now, that's interesting, I think. But this came first, and now they said, oh gosh, we have David Bowie. Let's do plants and put them on these. Let's have the Statue of Liberty be drowning in a giant tidal wave. Let's put it all out there. Here's another one that's near us that's also by like a diner. Now, here we go. This, I think, is a little hard to see. Statue of Liberty again. But it's the entire side of an apartment building. That's like the cosmos, and then a howling wolf, and then the apartments are in between. As they say when you're writing a script, it visually doesn't read. It's just like, if I were to get tattoos, I would have a planned tattoo. Like the Japanese tattoos where you do a sleeve. The people who get tattoos where they have one thing here, 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 and none of it is connected to an overall idea. They're just individual little drawings on your arm. Doesn't read. Again, the tidal wave. A closer upper picture of the weed in the sky. And it looks like a weed. It does not look like a beautiful flower. This is the mural above our local Dunkin' Donuts. And it's purple and blue in the Statue of Liberty. And it took a long time to be painted. There's a better picture of David Bowie. Here's another. I don't know what this is. Mr. Gordon says one of my best friends has such a collection of tattoos, and it's a bit like a collection of short stories. Okay. I'm just saying if I were going to get a tattoo, I would want sleeves and on the chest and have it all make sense historically beyond my intention. But I know the individual tattoos are very popular. I just don't find them readable. This is also another big painting on the side of the wall. And I've actually taken pictures of it. This is downtown Jersey City on the opposite side of my dentist, actually. And I took pictures of this. I have photographs of this from the ground looking up. And they're great pictures. I'm just not sure why we want this on the side of our buildings. Well, Jersey City Mural Arts Program, JC Map. Oh, you thought you could get away from it. No. This is all official. This is part, these drawings, these paintings on the side of the building, this is all part of the intention. And there are 200 murals, 138 artists, and 9 years of this. And here's a video that I'm not showing you. Here's another video I'm not showing you. Facts. Featured murals. Okay. There's the mayor of Jersey City, Steve Fulham. Okay. And here we go, having some more. More murals. Okay, defaced. That's what you're going to run up against. You put artwork, people are not going to like it. They're going to eject in the only way they know how. This is also near my dentist's office. This is the backside of, I think, a tattoo parlor. This is sort of interesting, where you're using the corner of the building to create a 3D effect. Here we go again. This is a Dunkin' Donuts where the whole building was made into a mural. And this is what I was telling you about. This is our Dunkin' of the Donuts. And the finished mural, which doesn't seem to be loading. You can see it's a train, the Statue of Liberty, and a paddle wheel boat. So enough of that. Now we're going to continue with what I was going to talk to you about when we got back from break, and then I got messed around with. And it's this idea of, if you want to control people and control how they think, don't let them move around on their own free will. That's what incarceration does. That's how the police deal with people who are not behaving. They restrict your movement. So you are controllable. You're handcuffed, you're put in a jail cell, you're put in the back of a car. You are not free, you are detained. You may not wander about. So through history, that's what we do to people who we believe are misbehaving. You can't go there, you can go here. Well, you're the wrong color, you can't go to that drinking fountain, but this drinking fountain way over there. You go drink over there. And so if you want to control someone's mind, in theory, you have to first control their body. And conservatives, especially, seem to be set upon that idea of controlling the free movement of thought in relationship to controlling the body. So here's a very interesting map from nature, if you can believe that investigates what will happen if Roe is overturned. In addition to 13 states with trigger bans, 12 other states are expected to enact new restrictive policies. In this scenario, economists estimate that about 18 million women in the affected states would need to travel more than 200 miles to have the procedure, which would prevent around 100,000 women from reaching an abortion provider each year due to economic and other hardships. Abortion facilities likely to close, abortion facilities likely to remain open, red dots, blue dots. And then down here at the bottom, distance to a nearest open facility. 0 is white to yellow, and more than 300 miles is what I would call a dark purple. So that's how you begin to get your ideas put in action. oh, you're free to travel. But if you want that procedure, you can't go across the street anymore. Now you have to go 4 states away. And if you're on the East Coast, a lot of opportunity. If you're on the West Coast, a lot of opportunity for freedom. Your time is not wasted. Oh, look here. Texas, the Deep South, Nebraska, the unfortunate Dakota Twins, deep purple, the Southwest, very purple. I was reading this article that people who seem to know believe that John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, was horrified by this Alito opinion. And so he leaked it, which I find hilariously funny, because then he came out and said, I'm going to find the leaker. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And when I find out that it's me, I'm going to punish myself very severely. We imagine he said to himself laughingly when he was alone. And I guess the whole idea that he was trying to do is that he supports, I believe it's the Mississippi ban of 15 weeks. He does not support overturning Roe because it's going to be a terrible mess. But 15 weeks, John Roberts thinks is reasonable. And so by leaking that unreasonable, irrational, contemptible Alito opinion, he hopes to flip one other conservative judge to join him with the liberals to uphold Roe while keeping in place the Mississippi restriction that he previously upheld. And it seems from what I'm reading from insiders that he believes the one person he can flip is Kavanaugh. Because he has sided on the side of liberals before and got in some trouble for that. And that he is sort of a medium well sort of guy who can be convinced for the greater good, and he's not a strict Republicanist. Now, will that work, or will there be too much pressure? Because people who know that it's Roberts and Kavanaugh that are going like this. Do we stay or do we go? Do we stay or do we go? And you know John Roberts doesn't want his legacy to be overturning Roe. But that's how politics is played in a non-political arena, is by persuasion and convincing. And the one justice that scares me the most is the newest one, Amy Coney Barrett, because she was placed there for a very specific reason, to do the bidding of conservative white men, and she is more than willing to serve. I don't believe she cares how history views her. She has a higher calling, which is that of her belief system and her idea of God and what God wants for a woman. So this is one way how you want to stop people from having access to behaviors that you don't want. And it goes beyond that into other areas of life. This, from this morning's Los Angeles Times, about Skid Row, is an overdose epicenter, but methadone, which helps people get off drugs. It is a drug in itself, but it's not as serious, and people can live their lives rather seamlessly and cooperatively if they are on methadone. But you used to be able to get it on the corner. Medical facility, go in, get your methadone, go. Not anymore. Now they're making it harder to get a medication you need to feel better. Because they believe that restricting access to something that would help someone get off becoming an addict is immoral and needs to be punished. To shake off the grip of addiction, Loretta Elias tries daily to get to the unassuming clinic in Boyle Heights, where she waits to down a meticulously measured cup of red liquid, methadone. Methadone has helped her 42-year-old avoid the sickness and cravings that come from trying to kick opioids. Elias credits it with helping her to stop using fentanyl, the powerful synthetic drug that's driven up deaths among homeless people in Los Angeles. And here's where we get to it. But the Boyle Heights Clinic is not an easy trip for Elias, who lives on the edge of Skid Row in the Cecil Hotel. She uses a walker and finds it painful to ride the bus because of a mending hip. So she relies on Soma Snake Oil, an artist and activist who heads a nonprofit to drive her there daily in her Jeep. Now you think, what? If this helps people, why not bring it to the people? Why did the people have to go to it? Even if you disagree, you know the methadone helps people get off drugs. The hardest part is to get there. Soma has so much to do, and she goes out of her way to help many people, but she's just one person. Skid Row is long been the downtown zone where Los Angeles has shunted services for the most destitute. Yet when people like Elias want to try to wrench free from opioid addiction, the closest options for getting daily doses of methadone may be miles away in Boyle Heights, Westlake, and South Park. It's a real challenge for my patients, says Dr. Emily Thomas, Deputy Medical Director of Housing for Health, a division in the LA County Department of Health. So there you go. Well, you're an addict. You have a bad hip. You live on Skid Row. Well, pull yourself up. Find a ride. We're not going to bring you methadone. We're going to make it really hard for you to get because that's the way we want it. And this is nothing new. I mean, we can just go back a couple of years. This article is more than a year old. Well, still functional. Americans now have to travel miles during a pandemic to vote in person. This is the hallmark of the GOP. They don't want you to vote by mail. If you stand in a line, they don't want people giving you treats and drinks. Instead of having 5 drop-off ballot boxes in a black county in the South, you get 1. And maybe you're going to have to drive 2 hours to get there and 2 hours back. But hey, we're not repressing the vote. We're just saving money and time. As coronavirus spread through the nation in the spring, polling places became another location where people could contract the virus. To avoid that, during the presidential election, dozens of states expanded mail-in voting, and over 85 million ballots have been requested for the general election so far. Yet some voters, after being bombarded with misinformation, fearing mail backlogs of facial confusion with the process, are traveling long distances to cast their ballots in person. Gordon says, "The video I used to put Malika to sleep was the fantastic Dr. Rashad Rishi debating someone on that very topic, voting rights, water to people in line, etc." Absolutely. They don't want people to vote. They don't want a popular vote. Conservatives, because there are too many of the rest of the people than what they have. So they have to find a way to redistrict, to stop you from voting, keep you on your opioids, restrict your body. Because if it's just who gets the most votes, they're going to lose every election. I heard on the radio the other day, Hillary Clinton had 2.6 million, I believe, more votes than Donald Trump. Yet she lost in the Electoral College. Why do we still have that system? Absolutely ridiculous, indefensible. Oh, that's the way we've always done it. Well, if that's what you're going to say, then there better not be any amendments to our Constitution. Because that's the way we've always done it, right? You can't change anything, right? And that's why this conservative bias is so difficult and tempting. Because they know they're outnumbered. Even if they force middle-class white women to have their babies, it's not going to help them in the long run. Gordon also says one of the arguments from the other person was, well, people of color have greater voter rights now than they did 50 years ago. Oh, wow, what a poor argument. That was John Roberts' argument. Well, it's all different now. We don't need those protections anymore because we've come so far. Completely disingenuous, but that is his history. John Roberts' history is voting against voting rights and taking away voting rights. So he has that mark against him, which he gladly accepts. But for some reason, it seems like he doesn't want this Roe thing put on him either. Maybe he can't bear 2 black marks against his soul. I don't know. Oh, and my watch is vibrating, which means it's time for another blood pressure break. We shall return in a moment. Then we are back from break. Oh boy, I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv, BOLES.tv. And we are here Monday through Friday live, 9 a.m. Jana returns this weekend, 11 a.m. Eastern. Can't wait to see her back in the old fold of the live stream. So I was thinking on the break how about, we talked about wasting people's time and detaining and delaying. And I'm reminded of that wonderful old saying about the police. You can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. Meaning that an officer so inclined can really do anything to you that they want. You're being rude, you're assaulting a police officer, you raised your hand, you resisted arrest, that's their favorite. Stop resisting me. I'm not resisting you. Put your arm behind your back. My arm is behind my back. Stop resisting. And they yell it so everyone around says, oh, that person's resisting. And so the thinking goes, okay, well, you can, beat my charge, but I can arrest you, and I can take you downtown, and I can fingerprint you, and I can put you in a jail cell with a lot of other really nasty people. And if I do it late enough on a Friday, you're probably not going to see a judge until Monday. So I have you for 2 days, teach you a lesson. You can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. And so here I am on break, coming back, just checking my bot, because when you're live streaming, people can see if you're live streaming or not. And my bot, my new bot, is now deleting line by line everything that my open caption is transcribing in my text stream. I don't know how to turn it off yet, but it's so funny to check to see if we've been rated or not. No, but there's this thing called Scriptly that keeps putting up walls of text. That's the trigger, walls of text. Walls of text that we have successfully purged from your server. You can beat the bot, but you can't beat the purge. And once it's gone, it's gone. You can't get a purge back. And I've said it that way. I said it that way last night. What are you doing? When people post walls of text, because we've had those people. Walls of text, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to leave it there, or do you want us to purge? Well, if you want us to purge, you want us to purge 1 day, 3 days, 7 days. How many days do you want us to purge? 7 days. We'll purge. Oh my gosh, they're purging everything. Is there an unpurge? No. And I'm just watching it getting purged while I'm talking. So now we've established this idea of you punish people by making them wait. And I would say, hey, making me get on a phone call when we could do it through email is punishing me. It's unlawful detaining. Why do I have to talk to you in real time when I can just send you 3 words in email and it's over? We have to have a meeting about this. Okay, well, just email me. No. You come all the way over here. You take an hour and a half to come all the way over here on the train. We're having a meeting. The meeting is 5 minutes. We had to meet you in person. I need to see you. Why do you need to see me? We talk on the phone every day. I need to see you. We have live text chat. No. In the same room. And it's about control. It's about controlling someone's time. Well, I know that if they're traveling to see me for an hour and a half and we have a 5-minute meeting and they have an hour and a half back home, 3, 4, that's almost 4 hours where I know that they are doing what I need them to do. Let's have a Zoom meeting. No, why? You don't have to travel. You just turn on your computer and we just have a meeting. But why? And keep your camera on because I want to look at you. Why? I can hear you. It's all about control, controlling the body, controlling the time. And so Margaret Atwood, who is one of my favorite authors, in Marie Claire magazine. Now, when Marie Claire is the harbinger cutting edge of what's going on in society, you really have to stop and think, where are the, I would like to say, real journalists? CNN, MSNBC, the Omaha Weird Herald, the Lincoln Morning Star and Evening Journal. Where are they? Why aren't they reporting about this? No, it's Marie Claire who tracks down Margaret Atwood. And then writes a great article about it, saying Margaret Atwood has issued a chilling statement calling enforced, not forced, enforced, which means the law, childbirth is slavery. Now, isn't that lovely? Very, very interesting. The world is still in shock after leaked documents revealed last week. The Supreme Court, the leaked document. Okay, we know all that. The leak was outrage. Kamala Harris, how dare Republicans try to deny women their rights and freedoms. And it's so great that people are now protesting in front of the homes of these justices, which they say is illegal. And I say, well, isn't it illegal for you to make decisions for my body because I'm a woman? You're a man. No, that's different. I came all the way over here to stand in front of your house. The most recent high-profile figure to speak out about the threat to Roe v. Wade was Margaret Atwood, author of the dystopian novel The Handmaid's Tale. It's a 1985 novel, iconic for its feminist text, depicting a dystopian world in which women's rights have regressed following a totalitarian takeover. Gilead, the state in The Handmaid's Tale, has complete control over women and their reproductive rights, farming out fertile women to bear children due to an infertility crisis. It sounds horrifically familiar. And it's fiction, right? And Handmaid's Tale is leading the way. It's trending more. There's Margaret Atwood herself. And here's what Margaret Atwood had to say about all of this that's going on in relationship to the context of what she knows and what she wrote in her novel. Women who cannot make their own decisions about whether or not to have babies are enslaved because the state claims ownership of their bodies and the right to dictate the use to which their bodies must be put. The only similar circumstance for men is conscription into an army. In both cases, there is risk to the individual's life, but an army conscript is at least provided with food, clothing, and lodging. Even criminals in prison have a right to those things. If the state is mandating enforced childbirth, why should it not pay for prenatal care, for the birth itself, for postnatal care, and for babies who are not sold off to richer families for the cost of bringing up the child? She continues, no one is forcing women to have abortions. No one either should force them to undergo childbirth. Force childbirth if you wish, but at least call that enforcing by what it is. It is slavery, the claim to own and control another's body, and to profit by that claim. And it just reminds me, going back to Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, and how she bore him, what, 4 children? And she lived in the house N-word, as some people would say. But she lived in the basement, separate from him, in a dark room. I don't think it had any windows. She lived in the basement. And then he would, I guess, call her up, have sexual relations with that woman, Sally Hemings. And they had children. And there are some people today who, most of them happen to be conservative, say, oh, isn't that lovely? They were in love. They had children together. They had a real relationship. And other people say, no. That's not love. That was rape. She was his property. She was not a free person to do what she wished. She had to comply or else. So Margaret Atwood is standing up and going some places that other people are too scared to even try to venture into. And enforced childbirth leads us to our next really interesting topic, also in Nature magazine today. And it's the other end of the spectrum, between childbirth and older age. Why menopause matters in the academic workplace. Employers in some countries are stepping up efforts to support staff through this life change. Others need to follow suit. Now, this is sort of also a verboten topic. I don't want to hear about that. Keep your menopause to yourself, old lady. Shut up and do your work. Just come in. I don't care if you're hot. I don't care if you're not feeling well. Straighten up and fly right. Meow. No one ever talks to you about menopause, says Carlotta Berry, an electrical and computer engineer at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology in Terre Haute, Indiana. But a few years ago, it hit Berry like a steam truck, which is not unusual or uncommon, and some women are completely blindsided by it. They didn't know. She got brain fog. She grew irritable and cranky. Her hair fell out 2 times. What she came to call her private summers, the dreaded hot flashes, would arrive at inconvenient times, such as during lectures. And this reminds me of something else that I read the other day. A woman, 27 years old, had beautiful skin all of her life, and now she's breaking out. And she says that she has this hot sexual need to reproduce. She doesn't want babies, but something inside of her is ticking. And she went to the dermatologist, and the dermatologist immediately said, how old are you? She said, I'm 27. And the dermatologist said, well, you're having the last stage, the last anamorphic biological yearning to have a child. And these are your hormones going out of whack. You may be sexually desirous. You may be having baby fever. You may be having dreams of having children. That's why your skin is breaking out, because your hormones are trying to say, time is running out. You got to speed up, and we're going to help you get there. And the woman said, what do I do? And the doctor said, well, there's nothing really to do, because it's going to clear up in 3 or 4 months, which is how long this final push, this period lasts, and then you'll be okay. And the doctor said some women can't resist it, and they go and they find a partner or whatever, and they get pregnant. And then they begin to have doubts, second feelings, what did I do? And other women just find a way to tough it out. Their skin clears up, the urges go away, and then they say, oh, I'm so glad I made it through. And now you have a woman at the opposite end of life who is so hot during a lecture that she can't continue. And there's no sympathy for her. I'd be up there teaching, feeling like I'm about to pass out, and looking out at this sea of white young men. Recalls Barry, now 51. With no older female colleagues to turn to in her department, she was left to navigate the discomfort alone at work. You are in a predominantly male career as a professor, which is absolutely true. Who are you going to talk to? You kind of suffer in silence. Barry's story isn't so rare, but it's rarely told. Half of the world's population, half of the people you know, can expect to experience menopause. A drop in reproductive hormones and the cessation of menstrual bleeding. Although the timing can vary by decades, the process usually occurs between 45 and 55. And with more women starting since science careers, it follows that many are likely to experience this transition at key stages, yet most workplaces don't see menopause and the mental and physical changes that accompany it as something they have to support. And many women are reluctant to speak out for fear it might lead them to being labeled as problematic. And I know that's true. I know I have friends who have gone to their bosses and say, look, I can't concentrate. I'm having a hard time at work. Can you just please let off on me a little bit because I'm in the middle of the thing, the menopause. And the average time for menopause is 7 years. So this isn't something that's passing in 3 months. And a lot of these bosses say, look, toughen up. You don't make excuses for being in a fog. You're just lazy. That's the accusation. So how do you fight it? Well, you try to talk about it. Give people tools, how to manage menopause at work. Perimenopausal, it's very difficult. And you just never know when it's going to hit. One woman took over-the-counter pain drugs to cope when work required her to stand for hours at the bench in a cold laboratory. But as she entered perimenopause, the pain in her lower back became so bad, she recalls thinking, this is killing me. And there really is not a lot that can be done. That's the hard part. You just sort of have to deal with it. I have a friend of mine who many years ago was going through menopause, and it would wake her up every morning at 2 a.m. And they lived in the very cold climate. And she said this is a very conservative, Republican, religious woman. The only way she could get any kind of relief was at 2 a.m. to strip herself naked and to go out on the balcony in her backyard and stand there like this, spread eagle, in the snow and the cold for half an hour because she was so hot. She said you could see the steam coming off my body. And unfortunately, men don't understand that. Men can't understand that. We can be empathetic. We can say, I'm sorry this is happening. What can I do to make you feel better? And the answer is nothing. There's really nothing that makes them feel better. And when I say them, I mean these beautiful women who go through these stages of life. In Japan, menopause is rarely spoken about at work. Yeah, because it's sexual. It's tainted. It's down there. However, the conversation might be changing. Last year, the Japan Broadcasting Company published a survey in which almost 1/5 of the respondents reported they had quit or considered quitting their jobs owing to menopause symptoms. It estimates 750,000 working women have experienced negative effects at work from menopause, a loss estimated to have cost the economy $3.2 billion. So this is what it's like. And it's a very disconcerting idea, especially for people who are trying to get through it and people who are trying to help. Oh, hang on. My battery is beeping on my laptop. It's going to crash on me. Oh, I think it did crash. No, it didn't crash. Okay. And how do you get out of this? It's a vicious circle. that really has no end except to just try to bear down and get through it and hope that people understand. And some women don't really even understand. They're just short-tempered and angry, and they get mad, and they don't understand how their bodies are necessarily changing because maybe they grew up in a community or in a family where you didn't talk about that kind of thing. So conversation helps. And now we take our very last blood pressure break of the moment. Returning briefly after our bots purge everything I've just said for the last half hour. Back in a minute. And we're back for break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv, BOLES.tv. Monday through Friday, live 9 a.m. Eastern, with the return of Jan Marie on the weekends, 11 a.m. Eastern. So we were, just to kind of round off our conversation about menopause and controlling women's bodies, the magic number is 13. When a woman does not have her period for 1 year, on the 13th month, with no period, she is determined to be done with the periods. Now in full menopause, I guess. You're perimenopausal when you're skipping months. And you track it. And some women track. They get maybe a little spotting. Does that count? It usually counts. Then the next month, full period. Oh, some women get no period. Month 11. Spotting. Month 12, period. Now I have to start all over again. That is true. Then you start all over again. Month 1, month 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And sometimes that fakery, woman faking out her own body, or body faking out her own woman, that can go on for 2 or 3 years. And then finally it settles down. You're free. You can sleep again. You're not hot all the time. You allow yourself to be touched. And this is a terrible thing to say, but this is why a lot of men who are older and maybe have money, let's say, get to a certain age with their wives, and when they reach a certain age, the man divorces them, doesn't want to deal with what's coming, and you know what I mean, the M word. Goes out, finds a young woman, stays with her for 10 years, the M word is coming, divorce, get rid of that, don't want to deal with it, goes back, finds a young girl, repeats. Terrible. The women think they're the one forever. And the man knows exactly what he's doing. It's terrible and it's unfortunate. And very, very common. And maybe some people don't even know that's the psychology behind of what they're doing, but that's what they're doing. And there's no way around it, really. Because people don't want to put up with what they don't want to put up with. And it tends to be that when you have more money, you don't have to put up with a lot of things. And speaking of putting up, our bot of the moment is the Wick Bot, which we like quite a lot. Sort of, we think, although they can't say it, but we can say it, sort of inspired by the John Wick movies, right? Okay. So this is what's been going on since our last break. Kicked. Reason suspicious account. These are all the details. And you really know that these are not serious people because they have an assigned avatar. Most people, when they join a social network, they want to put up their own picture or something that they like. They don't take the default. So that's one thing you can have a bot look for on your behalf. Here's another one. Kicked. Reason, account suspicious. Member details. Meow, meow. Ping, timeout. Meow, meow. Join raid trigger. Now we're getting into it. This is a pain feature. Mr. Wick has identified a weird join pattern. Flagged accounts now joining for the next 30 minutes. You can set that to whatever you want it to be. It can be 10 minutes. It can be an hour. I'm varying it in my testing. Will be banned. Now, the sad part is if you have a legitimate person who's trying to join your Discord server when it's a join raid trigger has been triggered, they're going to be banned. Now, hopefully they either know you or they know what's going on and they'll come to you and say, look, what's going on? Why was I banned? I didn't do anything. And then you fix it. And it's too bad you have to have this even in place. But you got to have some kind of protection. Otherwise, you're going to be overrun. Mr. Top Hat Doggo was also kicked for having a suspicious account. However, Mr. Wick did not stop there. Oh, no, Mr. Wick. Here's what else Mr. Wick was doing. Today at 10:25 a.m. Feeling like I'm about to pass out. I'd be up there teaching, and there's no sympathy. Gosh, it sounds familiar, right? Oh my goodness, this is our text transcript. One webhook has been deleted. Please let me off a little bit because I'm in the middle. Hey, Facebook, many women are like, one webhook has been deleted. This one I revealed. This webhook is hidden because I guess it could be nasty stuff. But this one I cleared so we could take a look at it. Please let me off on a little bit because I'm in the middle of a thing with menopause. Yeah. More details. Webhook. Triggered. Purged. Successful. Now, I don't know if I have to whitelist the bot or if I have to exempt special areas from being triggered by the bot. But you have to be careful because you don't want a bad bot to get in there and not be moderated. I'm not exactly sure how any of this works, but it's enough to exhaust you, I'll tell you that much. And we've had a wonderful show today. And most of it's about control, controlling the eye and the aesthetic, controlling how people move in space and time in order for you to get them to do what you want them to do and not what they want to do. That's why we should just have the cat philosophy. Everybody's a cat. You come and go. You do whatever you want. There's no cat wrangling. But there are people who want us to be sheep and dogs and do exactly as instructed and be rounded up and put in a pen. And cat people don't take kindly to that because when we're hungry and we want to go outside, we're eating and we'll see you later. We went back to 2014 and took a tour of the subway with Jan Marie. We saw elevators in action as they are being cured and dried for the Justice Center, where all justice will be decided and dispensed in one building now in Jersey City. No more traveling to the courthouse. You're found guilty on floor 7 and you do 25 years on floor number 2. If you have any thoughts or questions or comments, feel free to send me an email, david@boles.tv. If you have a question or a comment for Jana Marie, you can email her, jana@boles.tv. You can find both of us on Twitter @DavidBoles, super follows to follow. You can find us on Instagram @BolesBooks. On Facebook, we are just BOLES. That's our business page. On TikTok, we are Boles TV. And if you're interested in maybe getting botted or maybe not getting botted, you might like to join our Discord server. Oh, sure. And if you have any trouble with that, you know where to find me. I will fix. So until tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern, I thank you so much for being here. May you have a lovely nap, a wonderful wake-up, a good evening, and when ye shall awaken, may your soul be filled with joy, happiness, and the freedom to move as you wish. See you tomorrow.